Hello, I'm Jacob Welsh. I'm a public information officer for the Schneider Springs Fire. I'm going to take you on a flyover of the entire fire perimeter, but first let's get oriented so we can know where we're at. So we're going to start our journey here by Rimrock Lake on the Tieton Reservoir Road. We have a Helibase, and that's where we took off. So we're going to fly north towards the wilderness boundary down here in the south, and then we're going to fly over along the 199 road, and we're going to go to Bethel Ridge and up along the 410 corridor just above the Nile Valley, and then further up north we're going to fly around to Bumping River, and then from Bumping River we're going to come back through the William O. Douglas Wilderness, and then from there we're going to head back to the Helibase. So we're lifting off from the Tieton Helibase, and it's right beside Rimrock Lake. And here we're flying north towards the geographic area that we refer to as Division Zulu, wilderness boundary. And here we're up on a bench just above the Highway 12 corridor.
Yeah, it's a little Wildcat is the main drainage there. Yeah, this all picked up in the last couple days. The 199 road. It's kind of a control point for us. A piece where we'd like to hold on to that road system, but it's not critical. It's a nice piece to hold on to, and I've been working and picking up spots along that ridge line.
Head over to the comm tower.
Okay.
Sounds good. Bravo Delta, airtime. Yeah, go ahead.
So the 199 stays on this ridge for the most part, and just a little bit of slop over it, but he's been picking it up.
5 minutes. Thank you. That air attack pair back here.
Stays on the ridge real nice. Some old cat units there, treated units, helpful.
Yeah, I can definitely see the difference between the treated area and the untreated.
Yeah.
580, 7 Hotel X-ray. On.
Hey guys, for 580.
Now we're flying the area south of the fire, and this is where Bethel Ridge is, and they're going to use that as a road system to fire off of. Let's see what it looks like.
Yeah, this is the indirect line in Oscar. They're working on it today. There was some equipment down there, but some of it looks good. Some of it needs some work, but yeah, it's a good line location for sure.
Yeah, looks good. Ridge top. Definitely a little heavy timber in some areas.
Yeah, this is the worst of it, or the thickest, timber, but starts to open up when we get out here about halfway across. So. Well, this ridge system is called Bethel Ridge. Connects really all the way through between, Highway 12 and 410, really. So main ridge system between goes all the way across east to west. See it starting to open up quite a bit. Won't need a whole lot of work here.
How many miles do you estimate this G-trail is?
I guess what we'll do is we'll come around.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's over 15, and as it goes, on the ground and winds around, it might be 20 miles even. It's just
my understanding.
kind of a fundamental aspect of firing that you get to your high point and try to figure out where that's at, because if you don't, you're always, even if it's just real subtle, you're always going to be fighting it. You're going to fight it for a whole time.
Yeah, I hear you.
It's okay to do a short piece that way. You always have to do short pieces that way, but if you line it up and there's just a subtle uphill all the way with alignment with the wind, you're gonna fight it. You're gonna fight it the whole time.
Bethel Ridge will be utilized as our control feature for a firing operation. Ridgetops are usually the best place to initiate a firing operation. You'll notice the sparser fuels up here and also the pre-existing Jeep trail or two-track road. We are now entering Little Rattlesnake Creek. This is the southeast corner of the fire. And in this drainage, there are areas of heat that helicopters have been dropping on to try to keep in check. This area of heat is the closest to the Nile Valley. Helicopters have been keeping this in check over the last several days. If you look closely, you'll notice that there's some individual and group torching. This was August 25th at 2 p.m. Here's another area of heat a little further up the drainage. It has crossed to the south end of Little Rattlesnake Creek. And this is the column that we could see at about 3:30 August 25th. We're now flying on the east side of the fire over the Nile Valley. This area is where we have most of our values at risk, and those are homes, properties. This is also the area where we have the most containment on this fire. And if you look up here, this is the ridge above the Nile Valley. And some of this terrain here is really rugged, steep, rocky terrain above the Naches River. And now we're flying into the northern part of the fire, which is the Bumping River Canyon. The prominent peak in the background is Old Scab Mountain. So we're flying from east to west. And if you look at the surface fire here, we have active backing fire all around the base of Old Scab Mountain. This fire is still on the east side of Bumping River. So we're using that river as a control feature, and we also have performed fuels reduction along Bumping River Road. And there's been a lot of hand crews and equipment down there thinning the area, and there's also structure protection in place for all the cabins that are in this area. Now we're leaving the Bumping River area and heading south into the William O. Douglas Wilderness. This area is inaccessible. We notice a lot of backing fire just south of Old Scab Mountain. The fire in the wilderness burned at different intensities. If you notice here, we have a lower intensity surface fire as we head up this ridge, and we notice little puffs of white smoke. But then if we look down into some of the more prominent drainages, we will notice that it burned pretty hot. The fire burned most of the trees and with a higher mortality. Oftentimes we talk about steep, rugged terrain and having difficulty accessing certain areas of the fire. As you can see from this flyover, the wilderness here is not an easy place to put out a fire. As we keep flying south through the wilderness, the terrain gets steeper and rockier and more difficult to access. Also, some of the areas here, fire activity has increased over the last few days.
the wilderness area coming back into out past the end of Zulu, out past the 199 road, really quite a ways out, a couple miles off the end of that road.
In this area of heat, putting up the column, what is this?
Just probably take a few more orbits
Yeah, stand by a second.
November, and I'm going to head over there and take a look.
Yeah, this is what they're calling Hindoo Creek, and was active yesterday. This was active, and it's probably where a lot of the growth occurred on the fire yesterday.
And now we've flown full circle and we're back to where we started on the southwest part of the fire. And we're going to head back to the Helibase.